Hey everybody, doing a mic check. Let me know if you can hear me okay. This is Starjump Grim. Hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear. All right. How's everybody doing? Hopefully you're well. Thanks for coming and hanging out a little bit today. Doing our normal Tuesday episode of Starjump Shipyard. And I apologize, I do have the sun coming in on me and giving me little spots of sunburn. It's a sunny day here in Columbus, Ohio. Anyways, I hope everybody is doing well. Wanted to do today's episode, although it may be a little bit on the shorter side than a usual shipyard episode, only because it's a busy day for me. And on this particular topic, I don't know how much there is to discuss because it's not so much speculation, other than just observation and sort of analysis of what was seen in some of the visuals during CitizenCon. But we're going to be going over the Javelin and the Idris. We're going to talk a little bit about them. We're going to kind of see some of their evolution throughout the years and talk a little bit about, just where they've ended up. There's a couple videos I think that are pertinent, and then obviously culminating in, why we're even talking about this, which is that there looks to be some significant changes to the ships on their exterior, probably not the interior, but so we'll go into that. Um, that being said, we do have IAE coming up only 10 days from now. So it's the 12th. So on November 22nd, IAE begins. Obviously, very excited for that. Um, if you've not been living under a rock, the Polaris and the Starlancer Max are both in the PTU for testing. I do think CIG did a great thing in just releasing those to all waves um, right away and not locking it behind, an Evo test or anything like that. So hats off to CIG for that. I think it was good just to get it in everyone's hands. Let us start testing it. Already some issues I think have been seen. So CIG's been doing some updates to the Polaris just in the last few patches. I think there's another patch coming today with some additional updates. Anyways, that's good to see. Again, everyone, chat, thank you for hanging out. Looks like we got all kinds of people in. I got a little bit of that list blindness, eye blindness today. So if I miss you, I apologize. But looks like we have, Executes there, Starjump Ender, Sulcy. Hope everybody's doing well. Citizen of the Burst. Let's see who else. All kinds of people. Feathers, Jacob, David Brown, Martin Living in the CZ, Bloody. We got all kinds of people. I don't want to miss anyone. So I will just culminate the rest of you all into a big old Starjump community tag. Coming to hang out with us. Really appreciate it. Okay, so for the sake of time, let's go ahead and cover a few things. Um, Want to remind everybody, I'm going to switch over here. Actually, bear with me. Let me switch over. Yeah. Want to remind everybody of the the IAE, giveaways I plan on doing, reaching into the old pockets on these because I do love IAE and Invictus. I think they're fun events and it's fun to celebrate with the community. Starjump isn't, we don't usually do like giveaways constantly just because we don't have a line in on any of that. So, once a year I do like to dip into the old pockets and see if there's a way to kind of give back. Obviously, we'll be doing Starjump posters. As I said before, during the IAE event, every other day I'll give away 2 of these. I think I can swing that. Yep. Those are going to be the Starjump IAE 2954 posters, or it could be the Scale of Ships poster, which will be updated. So both these posters will be updated with the ships from IAE, whatever is revealed. 2 Argo Atlas suits, and I have 1 Avenger Sitcon starter pack. Which they did just bring back to the store, which is really cool because they had taken it off. It's still a pretty good deal on there, actually. It's the Avenger, the Iron Weave paint, which immediately makes the ship about 10 times cooler, and then the full set of like Ard and SL armor, sniper rifle, and everything. Um, try to do 2 Crusader Intrepids. I guess it depends on where they come in price point wise. And then I'll be giving away a Star Lancer Max with the Sapphire paint. So all of those giveaways, I will, as we get closer to IAE, I will tell you how to get involved in those. I'm already working out all the back end for that. But essentially, it's just going to be watching the streams. And then, like I said, probably be doing a stream every other day during IAE so that we can cover all the stuff. Make sure we're talking about all the ships that are announced, all the panels that are not panels, but any of the ship shows that come on ISC or whatever. Because usually there is a ship show. There's usually an IAE ship show, and then usually another show. I forget what they typically do for IAE. There's always a ship show though. And John Crew has said, I still have my enders on the phone thing. Let me remove that. Sorry. John Crew has said that IAE is typically where they talk about ship manufacturers and those type of things. So just an important point. So we'll definitely be covering all that. Anyways, that's our giveaways. Again, more on that as we get closer to IAE, but I do just like to remind people about it. Yes, we will be talking about the Idris and Javelin today. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that. Let me get I just realized I don't have my folder up that I need to have up. So let me pull that up. How's everybody doing today? Everybody having a good day? Hopefully everybody is having a great day today. Let me switch over here to my left screen. All right, let's get into it. As you know, for those of you that don't know, over on our YouTube channel, the Starjump Shipyard series is a series I put together covering ships, going sort of deep diving them, right, all the way from like their very early beginnings as a concept all the way to where they're currently at or where they've ended up. And they're really in depth. Got 4 episodes out. We have one on the Kraken, one on the Crucible, one on the Endeavor, and one on the Banu Merchantman. So if you want to see those, they're pre-recorded. Go over to our YouTube channel. There's a Shipyard, playlist, and you can watch them all. I started to think more though about maybe a way to reformat that, and I thought about, just the uplift that's required in the pre-recorded episodes with all the new 3D and all that stuff. And I was like, was there an easier way to do this? And I thought maybe just doing Shipyard as a live sort of show. Maybe it's not going to be as in depth. I may not have every bit of concept imagery or reference file available that I normally would, but we can at least talk about the ships, go in depth on them, talk about where they, what that journey has been for them. And based off that, hopefully it'll give you at least the information you need to make a decision on whether to buy it or not. Here on Shipyard, I have unless CIG is sending me paychecks, I have no reason to sell you on a ship. I talk about certain ships, and if there's things about them that excite me, then I'm excited about it. If there's things that don't excite me, then they don't excite me about it. But at the end of the day, whether or not you spend your hard-earned money on it is your decision. I'm not going to tell you to do it or not to do it. I'm not going to tell you that you can buy everything in game or that you shouldn't put any more money in the project or anything like that. You're a grown adult, hopefully, and you can make those decisions on your own. We all have different means, and how much you want to put into this project is totally up to you. But it's good to at least have a good understanding of what you're backing, right? Okay, so the Idris and Javelin. Why are we talking about this at all? During CitizenCon, there was let me go ahead and pull it up here. There was the Squadron 42 video that was shown. Okay, this was not the video, sorry, the live gameplay session. And this is where Rich Trier came out, played the game, all that. And I don't know how you all felt. Hopefully you all really enjoyed it. I thought it was amazing. When I watched it, I just kept thinking, I wish I was playing it, right? So there were some people that I saw that like criticized it and said, "Oh, it seems like there's a lot of cinematic moments and stuff," and I agree. There was quite a bit of that. At the same time, I'm usually not interested in stuff like that, but this was the first time I was kind of captivated by the cinematics, right? So take that as you will. I thought it was an interesting um, bit of gameplay that they showed. It's the prologue, so it's supposed to kind of introduce the story to you and to introduce the stakes. And I thought it did an effective job of that. And it made sure to establish who you are in this massive battle. You're, a UE Navy, person on a javelin. You go a man a turret. You kind of got a small role to begin with, but obviously that'll probably open up over the course of the game. So we're going to back up. We're going to back up to here. Right off the bat, in this first cinematic, we're introduced to the Idris and Javelin changes. If you're familiar with the Idris and Javelin models, like I am, I'm probably a little too familiar with them, then it was the first thing that grabbed your eye. Okay, and I'm going to pause it right here. Boom. It was literally at this moment that I said, "Wait, something is different, right? Something is really different here with these ships," and that was exciting. But first, let's go back to Hangar Link. Okay, we're going to add the two ships in question. We're going to add we'll add the Idris P, and then we will add the Javelin. Okay, so two important things to note about the models in Hangar Link, okay, because I think this is an important caveat. Let me lock the canvas so I can move around it. Okay, so the also pro tip, if you didn't know, if your mouse wheel is set to click mode, you're gonna go pretty slow in Fleet Viewer. If you switch your mouse wheel to smooth, you can really go fast on the zooming. So just a little bit of a Fleet Viewer pro tip. That being said, though, let's talk about a few things about these particular models. Okay. These are so some models in Fleet Viewer are hollow models that have been dressed up. Okay. So what does that mean? That means we take the hollow model off the website because the in-game model doesn't exist. It's a concept ship. We take the hollow model. We do some cleanup on it. We might have to add some greebling to match concept art. We may have to fix some things because maybe the hollow model's missing stuff like missing turrets or whatever. We then texture it and light it, and we essentially try to get it as close to concept art that is available for the ship as possible. Okay, that's concept ships. For flight ready ships or ships that exist in the game files, we use StarFab and we pull the ship model from the game files, reassemble it in Blender, and then export it from Blender as a workable file. This is one of those ships, and you can notice it because it's got a few issues, right? One of the issues is it's missing a front turret up here. You may say, why is it missing a turret? Well, that's because the game file itself doesn't have it on there, or maybe the reference for it is not being grabbed or whatever. So if you ever see anything like that, that's stuff we need to go back and fix. We just haven't. However, what is very accurate is the model itself. So all this geometry, this is not hollow model stuff. This is real deal, game model stuff. Okay. So this is our Idris. Now I pulled up the Idris P only because the Idris M has a different paint scheme on it. And I'm honestly not quite sure because CIG has changed the Idris paint quite a few times. I'm not sure which one is correct. So we're going to go with this one just because it's a simplified paint scheme. Okay. Next, we have the mighty Javelin Destroyer, as you can see here. Also, hello everyone in chat. I see some 07. Salute to you all. Appreciate you all hanging out with me today. Oops, you know what? Let me switch something. Got a good crowd today. Appreciate everyone hanging out. 120 over on YouTube. Got about 50 or so over on Twitch. So again, thanks for hanging out. This is the Javelin Destroyer. Okay. There's a lot of things about these ships that are important to note when we're looking at the models in Fleet Viewer. Okay, but the Javelin Destroyer, believe it or not, has not changed a lot from its original concept. Much like the Idris, there was an initial concept model built and shown off. That stayed around for a bit, and then CIG changed the concept. So the Idris went from a corvette to a frigate, and the Javelin just changed from one look to another look. But essentially, once they made those changes to the ships, the Javelin and the Idris did not change much. I'm not sure exactly when that. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yes, please hit the like button on YouTube, everyone. I really appreciate it. Also, do the alert bells. Subscribe to the channel. Really, really helps. Same thing on Twitch. You know, hit the follow button. Really helps. So, but once the Javelin was ended up in this state, and that was many years ago, probably 2016ish, and the Javelin Idris probably the same around that time period. Once they switched over to this look, and with the Idris, it might have been even a little earlier than that. 2015, 2014. But anyways, once they switched to these new looks, they really haven't changed much, right? So, and what do I mean when I say they haven't changed much? It means things like the panel lines, all this detail work, the greebling, the labeling, the engines in particular have kind of remained these engines. Things like just all the exterior cladding has mostly remained the same. We have seen some updates over time, little small adjustments here or there. The turret up here on top, this main turret, it's changed actually several times on the different models. But by and large, everything else is mostly stayed the same. We haven't seen a lot of changes in the looks to either one of these ships. Same thing with the Idris, right? We've seen some minor adjustments, I think, to turrets and stuff like that, but the engines and just the overall structure of the ship has been mostly intact, okay? I'm going to switch over to this video here. We're going to play it without sound. This is the big guns of the UEE. This is a video from all the way back in 7 years ago, so this would have been 2017. This video essentially is highlighting the big warships of the UAE Navy. Namely, they cover 3 ships: the Bengal carrier, the Aegis Idris, and the Aegis Javelin. Okay, so right here we're seeing the Idris. You can see this is pretty much the exact model from Fleet Viewer. This is the model currently in the game files, right? So if you pulled the game files, that's just what you see. Same thing here with the Javelin. This is the model we have in Fleet Viewer. I'm going to pause it here. This is the model we have in Fleet Viewer. This is the model that has been seen in games during things like, Xenothreat or whatever. It's important to note that the engines on here are the 4 horizontal engines on either side for a total of 8 secondary engines on the rear, plus the 4 main thrusters. Again, that's the same deal with our Idris, which is you have the 4 horizontal engines, and then the 4 main thrusters here, 2 here and then 2 on the bottom. Okay, so again, nothing's really changed there from this video from 7 years ago. Okay, so we'll play this out a little bit here and maybe talk a bit about it. If you've ever seen, there is a behind the scenes of this video where Nathan Dearsley talks a lot about their creation, mainly focusing on the Idris itself and how many permutations it's gone through. The Idris is one of probably the biggest hero ship of Squadron 42. I'm sure you all know that. And because it's the hero ship of Squadron 42, things like bridge layout, corridors, corridor spacing and sizing, room layout and stuff has really been tailored around NPCs, okay? While other ships in Star Citizen, like ships that come to us, are really built around the player. And while they do take metrics into effect for NPCs, for the passageways and stuff like that, primarily CIG is building them for the PU and players, right? The Idris, again, is that rare ship that was really built around a story. It was built around NPCs, etc. So with that, there's some things about the Idris that really just could not change because they're building Squadron 42, right? You have NPCs walking around, scripted events inside the ship. They've been working on the game forever. If you change a corridor in the Idris, it's going to screw up all the work that has been done up until that point, you know, for Squadron 42, you know, all the stuff that's happening inside the ship. So you can't just haphazardly switch a room around or change a walkway. So this is a ship that CIG has really had to stick with and love, even though if they were to build the Idris now, they would probably build it a little differently. I would imagine. Okay. Um, so an important point to note with that, any changes that do occur to the Idris, you know, that we're going to highlight here, I do think they're all external. Okay, for both the Idris and the Javelin, especially so if you're an Idris or Javelin owner, I don't think you need to be concerned about any internals changing. Now, is it possible that they will change some internals for the PU version of the Idris? It is possible. John Crew did allude to the fact that the Idris and Javelin will have to get updated for the PU. He has said that. I think that could be a number of things, though. It could be everything from possibly rooms and stuff switching or getting dressed up differently. It could also come down to things like just culling and other, you know, other uh, performance optimization type things. You know what I mean? Like maybe they remove some windows in the ship, or you know, to simplify viz areas or whatnot, just for performance reasons. We don't know. This is the behind the scenes video. We'll let this play as we're talking. On the other hand, and here's Nathan Dearsley talking about those two ships. One of the things he says in regards to the Javelin, though, because we talked a lot about the Idris, right, and how the Idris has kind of remained what it is for a number of years now. The Idris is probably, in terms of its internal passageways and stuff, probably hasn't changed in the last 10 years. Probably hasn't changed in like a decade. Okay, it's been mostly probably the same. Yes, some decor and stuff has changed, but I think the overall flow of the ship has been mostly intact. The Javelin, which was made after the Idris, one of the interesting things Nathan Dearsley says here is that the Javelin was very easy. Well, I say that, you know, understanding that all these ships are difficult, but he says that the Javelin was pretty straightforward to tackle because it borrows heavily from the Idris, kind of toolkit, all those parts and pieces, you know, panels and hallways and all that kind of stuff. But you know, it's mentioned in here how the Javelin was kind of an easier lift almost because they had worked out so many issues through working on the Idris, right? Everything from, you know, gameplay stuff to metrics to NPC accommodation, all that stuff. They had already built things like chairs and walkways, panels, floor paneling, wall paneling, the shape of hallways, the shapes of doors, all that kind of stuff. So again, that made the Javelin a lot easier to deal with. So for a long time now, we've seen the ships, and I'm going to pause it here. Now let's kind of go into, and let's real quick here before we go any further, let's cover just very briefly, because you've all heard this stuff 1,000 times. We won't go super deep into this. The Aegis Idris here is a frigate. There we go. Is a frigate, but its primary role, and this has been stated by CIG, is that of a carrier. It is a carrier ship. It has its internal hangar. It carries, you know, several gladiuses or whatever else you can fit in there. And actually, if you want, I will go ahead and pull up. Bear with me. For those of you not as familiar with the, where is it? Yeah, stand by. I'm going to bring up something now for you all. Yeah, for those of you not as familiar with the Idris, it is a carrier ship, right? And I will go ahead and turn off the outside of the ship so you can see internally. Okay, and then I will actually, let me turn the ship back on and make sure I have my buttons right here. So I'll turn off the outside of the ship. There is the hangar that exists inside the Idris. Okay, can move around it. There you can see it. We can actually take off the top cladding here. We'll just actually move that up. We'll just take that off so that you can see what the hangar looks like. It's something essentially like this. This is obviously a bit of a cross section, but it gives you a little bit of idea of what the internal hangar area of the Idris looks like. It does have kind of a low ceiling. Let me move our internal back down. So it does have kind of low ceiling. You can't just fit anything in there, but essentially it is a carrier ship. Okay. Let me pop this back on. Okay. So the other big thing that the Idris has, beyond just being a carrier, that it's very fondly known for, is its massive size 10 railgun, mass driver, I think is what they call it. It's important to note that if you have the Idris M, it comes with a mass driver, the size 10 mass driver. If you have an Idris K, the upgrade kit, it switches this out for a size 10 laser beam weapon, which, believe it or not, I think would be cooler, because while the mass driver fires a projectile, the laser beam, and we have seen it either in art or a video, I can't remember, but the laser like shoots this just like crazy big beam that just holds up for a minute, and it looks pretty cool actually from just a visual standpoint. I don't know if it'll be any as deadly as the mass driver, but it definitely is impressive looking. So anyways, that is the Idris. And then the let's go back to our Javelin. The Javelin is a destroyer. It does have room for a ship, so it does have a small, I don't want to say a small hangar, a hangar capable of carrying a, I want to say a medium ship. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong there, but I believe this can carry a medium ship, because I think it can carry the Redeemer and a Vanguard, like a Redeemer or a Vanguard, like that size of ship. Vanguard heavy fighter, and the Redeemer, um, pretty sure is considered a medium ship on size, right? So yeah. So we've seen both ships in it. It's supposed to be able to carry Redeemer, but there's also video from CIG of a Vanguard sitting in it, and a Vanguard is raised on the elevator. So that should give you a good idea of what it can carry. Okay. As a matter of fact, on this video here, let me go through. Is it back here? Let me see. Can't remember which video. I can't remember which video they show. It might be this one here. We'll let this play for a minute. But yes, the Javelin should be able to carry a pretty big ship, but that is not the primary goal of the Javelin. The primary goal of the Javelin is to just straight up be a destroyer. It's got an absolute ton of turrets on it. Not only does it have its big quad size, whatever, main turrets on the top and bottom of the ship. Let me go back to Fleet Viewer. Not only does it have its big top and bottom turrets, it has lots of turrets on the side here, broadside turrets, that are pretty big. I forget what the size of those are. Sorry. And by the way, on weapon sizes, I don't get too concerned about them, because weapon size only really matters in terms of the balance CIG puts on weapon damage, and that is going to constantly change. So, my point still stands. I say this all the time. I would not buy a ship based off like the damage output that it's listed as having, or anything like that, any hard number stuff, because it will change. But in addition to the turrets, the other thing that the Javelin has is its massive dual torpedo launchers up here. These are size 12 torpedoes. So it carries a absolutely massive torpedo. If you've been playing around with the Polaris, and it's size 10 torpedoes. These are size 12, so that should give you an idea of how big these things are. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Just ask the Redeemer about weapon damage changes. Exactly. So essentially what it means is buy a ship. I really think the best advice I can give, this is the advice I use for myself, so take it for how you will. I buy ships based off their proposed role, right? And then if that's a role I'm interested in, I very rarely buy ships based off their turrets or their weapon sizes, component sizes, any of that type of stuff. I don't buy ships based off that because it almost definitely will change. R says, sorry, just joined in. Is the general consensus that player-owned Idris and Javelins will get the design updates? Yeah, we're going into that, R. We haven't quite got there yet, but we're going to talk about that. Thanks for joining. But yes, that's what the destroyer's primary role is to dish out damage and on a massive scale, okay? Size 12 torps, all the turrets on the broadside, front and back, anti-fighter turrets, the two big turrets on the top and bottom of the ship, and you can see that if I go to a profile view. You can see here the top and bottom turrets there. Those are big quads. I forget the size of those, but I want to say they're size 8 or 10, something like that, maybe 10. Maybe someone can correct me. But regardless, the important thing here, size 9. Okay, thank you, Cosmic. The important thing here is this ship packs a wallop, right? So that's its role. So you don't want to buy the Idris just because you heard that it's modular. It is supposed to get its modularity, and what they've outlined for its modularity is really cool, but I don't think that's the ship's bread and butter. Its role is not to be a modular ship. Its role is to bring pain, right? Its role is to bring all these guns and torpedoes to bear. Okay. So we talked a little bit about what these ships are. Let's go back to our trailer here, and right away, the Idris comes into view. Now, the first thing that I noticed is engine changes and exterior cladding changes. So all the exterior greeble work looks different to me. That's the first thing I notice. You can see the engines have totally changed shape. They're now these kind of like bent chevron type shaped engines on the outside with these smaller thrusters mounted here on both the rear, left, and right side of the ships. In addition to that, again, there's just the ship looks different from an outside paneling, kind of perspective. So let's I'm going to bring up our thing here. We're going to kind of go through some images here. If you have a question, by the way, put it in brackets. I'll try to catch it. If I miss it, just ask it again in like 5 minutes. Okay. I pulled some stuff here. Again, another thing you will notice is that there are other ships that were shown in the Squadron 42 gameplay trailer that look different than what we have. That's to be expected. The actual Squadron 42, they're supposed to use, ships that have been modified or experimental. People have zoomed in on some of the labeling here, and it says F7X. So this F7 right here, which, God, I really hope we can get for playing Squadron 42, is obviously some experimental version. The F8Cs or F8A Lightnings here are a little different. They don't have the little vent hood up top here, so they look a little bit more sleek, a little bit more stealthy. Just something to note. The F7X's too had dual engines on the rear, which I thought was really interesting. Again, so what we're essentially where this is going is in the Squadron 42 gameplay trailer, we noticed some differences, right? We definitely noticed some differences in ships. We also noticed other ships flying out there that are very clearly variants of the Bengal class carrier. These variants are most likely variants made in order to fill out the UEE Navy ship roster and without having to build unique hulls every time. So for example, this here, don't exactly know what this is. This could be just a cruiser or something like that. We don't really know, but it's very clearly got elements of the Bengal in it. It's not a Bengal. I'm not saying it's called the Bengal, but it's very clear that it's got elements from the Bengal. Okay, so I do expect this is an RSI UEE Navy capital ship. Okay, whatever it's called. Case in point, here's another example of that. So we have that same ship up here. This is obviously some sort of, I actually don't know what it is, but whatever that ship is, this is the same as we looked at before. And then here is another variant of the Bengal. This one has engines removed on top and has big, massive ship buster cannons on top. It has this total of 3 on top, which is actually absolutely massive. The stock Bengal, I think, has 1 on the bottom, right? Yep, 1 on the bottom. So this one has 3 on top, possibly another one on the bottom. This could be the battle cruiser. I think that's what they call. Chat can correct me if I'm wrong. I know Execute's in chat, so he might be able to correct me on that. But they're supposed to be a battle cruiser or something like that. So that could be what this variant is. We've also seen things like the Pegasus, which we do have in Fleet Viewer. It's possible that one of these ships replaces the Pegasus because maybe they just didn't want to fully build out the Pegasus, even though they really did have it built out. Rain says battle cruiser. Okay, battle cruiser. Yep, gotcha. Jock Cop says both the Polaris and Idris started. Let me move my window here. Started out as corvettes before ballooning up. Do you think there's a gap in the ship line for a patrol corvette, more generalized than the Hammerhead or Perseus, and not as specialized as, say, the Carrack or Nautilus? So that's a great question, Jock Cop. It's honestly, I guess it depends on how CIG defines it, because they still call the Polaris a corvette. And I think that's also why the Polaris got a little bit of an up gun with its size 6 bespoke turret on the chin, its quads on the top. It's got missile launchers, it's got other turrets, it's obviously got its torps. I think they look at the Polaris as the general purpose corvette. It is still a torpedo boat, but the upgunning, I think, was to make it a little bit more general usage as well. So that's what I currently think. Now, the tricky thing with that, and I know Execute can attest to this, is that the way CIG defines Corvette could be a little strange too, because the Ironclad is considered a Drake Corvette. CIG told that to the info runners, and the info runners communicated that to me. So CIG, John Crew even referred to the Ironclad as a Drake Corvette. So in that respect, you can consider a lot of ships corvettes, right? Just like you said, you could consider the Nautilus or the Carrack or the Ironclad or even the Liberator. You could all consider them corvettes to some degree. So it just sort of really depends on where that falls. So let's keep going. We'll come back to this image. I must have this one out of line. So we're talking about the Idris here. This is a great image where you can see some of those detail changes. So remember on our let me go back to it. On our Idris, we've got these type of engines, right? Essentially the same type of engine, and it's duplicated on the back here, on the left and right side. You can see those here. And then they slap it on up here at the front as well. The interesting thing is that there's also this kind of like vent section here, right? You can see that. I don't think those are engines. They're just, I think, intakes, right? Well, if we go back to the trailer, it does look like that has significantly changed. So now we have these Chevron type engines, which look to be two separate engines just encased in a single encasing. And then what they've taken is they've just taken one engine out of the encasing and placed it up here on both sides and on the rear. I don't see that large intake structure that I showed you. You remember that intake? I don't see that anymore. That looks like it's changed. But the engines have definitely changed. And then a lot of this exterior structure. So for example, if I go back, and we're going to switch a lot here, so bear with me. If I go to the front of the Idris, you can and I'm going to kind of get into a similar view here, not perfectly similar. Okay, let me pull this up. Okay, pay attention to these lines here. The Idris has like very simple shapes here. And they even said as much when they were talking about the Idris and Javelin, or especially the Idris. They were talking about this in that behind the scenes of the big guns of the UEE. They talk about making the exterior very simple because they were trying to keep performance reasons in check, right? So they made the exterior of the ship very flat, very faceted, to cut down on just the amount of polygons and stuff that need to be redrawn every time. Going back to the current representation of the Idris, though, you can see a lot of new panel lines going on here, right? So it's still very faceted, but they've just put more facets in there, right? Now, you could be initially worried and say, well, doesn't that go against what they said in the Big Guns of the UEE video, where they talk about performance being a reason why they simplified the exterior of the Idris? Well, I think the thing to think about there is that there's a lot of texturing tricks and just using certain types of shaders and the way you apply them and stuff like that. There's a lot of tricks you can do now that you couldn't have done back then when the Idris was originally exterior was originally kind of finalized. There's a lot of new techniques you can use that don't cost anything or cost very, very little from a performance standpoint that can give a ship more detail than you think. Um, what's a good example of this? The RSI Polaris. If you look at the exterior of the Polaris, they got a lot going on there. Some of that is more polygons, obviously, but there's also just a lot of really interesting little shader and texture things they do to give the Polaris a feeling of like almost like layered clouding on top of each other so you can see through certain areas to other areas and stuff. Now when you get up close, you can like super close, if you're in EVA and go right up to the edge of the Polaris, you can actually see where those texture tricks are happening, but it's a very effective way to get a lot of detail in a ship. I think that's what is essentially happening here to the Javelin and the Idris, right? They're going back exterior only, doing those changes wholesale to bring these ships more in line with the detail now that's been set in place a la the Polaris, right? Because you got to bring your two hero ships, the Javelin and Idris, up to the same level or close to the Polaris with its amazing exterior. So that's what you're seeing here. One thing that's important to notice is that while some major stuff has changed, right? The engines have changed, the intake is gone, a lot of these exterior facets have changed. None of that affects the interior of the ship. Okay, so all that interior work of the and I can actually bring that up in let's bring up real quick here. Oop, let's go back to, bear with me. Let's go back to Hanger Link. Oh, you know what? I don't have it in Hanger Link. Where do I have that image? Bear with me. I'm going to bring up something real quick. Since we're talking about internals. Okay. So none of this interior work has changed, right? So all these internals here that we see, all these passageways, all that kind of stuff, what rooms do what, none of that has changed, right? None of that needed to change for the exterior stuff to change, okay? One important place to note is back here in the escape pod section of the Idris. You'll notice you got 3 here and 3 up here. Here's the other 3. You'll notice these are on these like back support structure elements of the Idris, and they kind of shoot out the rear. Even if they need to exit the rear and the rear has changed, which it has, and I'll show you that. Again, as long as the internals have stayed the same, it shouldn't affect anything related to Squadron 42, right? Even though the escape pod may need to eject out the rear and maybe there's a door on the rear that has to open, that can be updated without affecting any of these internal causeways, right? I think that's the important thing to know about these these cross sections, these internal cross sections, is just that none of this had to change for this interior structure to change. So you can actually see here, all of our internals are here. All this external stuff, though, the reason there's no cutaway here is because there is nothing to cut away. There's no rooms, there's no walkways, there's no passageways. So all that is kind of open to be changed, right? So let's go back to okay, here we go. So again, a lot of changes there. I noticed it. I know someone asked, do I think that these changes are going to be for the PU versions of these ships? I absolutely think they are. I do not have any confirmed information about this. I'd love to get a confirmation from John Crew or Ben Curtis or any of those people, Nathan Dearsley. The reason I haven't even attempted to ask, though, is because I think they're going to highlight this soon. It wouldn't shock me if John Crew and Ben Curtis have an entire ISC planned, or maybe they'll talk about it at IAE this year or IAE next year. But they're going to probably do a big presentation on these two Aegis ships being updated. Why? Because a lot of people have bought them. and they want to make sure they communicate those changes up front. So let's keep going. Another change here that happened is to the rear of the Idris. Okay, I'm going to go one more stop here. This is where you can really see some changes as well. Not only obviously can you see the back engines and their glow and how that has changed from the back engines of the actual Idris. Another important thing to note is just the difference in this sweep that's going on here. So I'm going to switch us back over to Fleet Viewer. I'm going to go to the Idris. I'm going to unlock it. And I'm going to go to Profile View. So you can very clearly see on this back piece here, and this back piece is this piece here, okay? This piece. If you go to Profile View, you can see that not only it almost slants downwards, right? It's very blocky too. It slants downward. But if you look at the new Idris rear, you see it slants outward. So it doesn't slant down anymore. It slants out. Kind of gives the ship a little bit more of like a sleeker, kind of more aggressive look, where the previous slant downwards is more of a kind of brutalist, kind of like heavy, almost like heavy duty kind of look, where this looks a little bit more sleek, a little bit more modern. Again, minor changes. This is where your escape pods would come out, because this is that rear support structure. So again, even if you change this exterior piece from slanting downwards to slanting outwards, all that really forces you to do is change those doors that open to eject the escape module, which is pretty easy to do. Again, the primary thing though is you don't want to change where the escape modules are and the corridors to get to them. Why? Because they've already built Squadron in to the current layout of the Idris. You can notice other changes here too. There seems to be turret changes in terms of how they sit into the ship. They're a little bit more embedded and not as like tacked on. Engines as well, the new design of the engines. I do really like the new design of the engines. I don't know if how everyone else feels, but I feel like it's a lot more built to the ship instead of just slapped on the side, right? Especially in regards to the Javelin. And the Javelin, they truly do feel like Aegis just took engines and attached them to the ship randomly. And they're like, oh, we got 4 on there. Oh, we need 2 more, slap 2 more on there. The new engine design feels a lot more integrated, right? But it's not just the engines and some of the cladding work. Almost all greeble lines have changed, right? Turrets have changed. The bridge exterior has changed. It almost looks like it's got a little bit more of a streamlined edge to it. I'll keep going here. Here's another image of the Idris. You can see it's got its new engines on it. This entire top section has been changed almost entirely. But let me go one more. I'm going to skip ahead here. Let me go back. Let me go to this image here. This is where one of the Vandal ships is like breaking through, right? Let me go back to my Idris real quick here, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Let me switch back to the main screen here. Now on this Idris, you'll notice that a lot of these pieces are still what they are, right? You have this little piece here, this little inset. You have these 2 big, almost like arrowhead wing shapes up here, a centerpiece. Another, like an important thing to note here though is this skylight. See these windows right here, this skylight? Remember that, okay? But if I switch back, and it had the prominent thrusters here, and it had prominent, like, I forget what these are. I think these are ejection areas here for an escape module, okay? But let me switch us back, and you'll see that a lot of those lines have changed now. These pieces here weren't there before. They've streamlined these wing sections and gave them different greebling. However, this little inset is still there, and our skylights are still there. So things that probably do affect internals of the ship, they haven't changed. What they've done, and they removed those big thrusters, or at least it looks like they removed them completely, and it looks like they removed those ejection things, right? Or they've streamlined them. They're probably still there. They probably just streamlined them, made them less visible. But regardless, what I'm saying here is nothing's really changed to it. It's just different lines and like greeble structures on the exterior. But it is some significant changes. some rather significant changes. We'll keep marching ahead here. Let me go back one. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, yeah. So that's our Idris. Again, a lot of people uh, have been asking, do I think we're going to get those in the PU? Let me talk about why I think that yes, we'll get those in the PU, because one, these just from a artist perspective, designer perspective, these are a lot. The ones in the Squadron 42 trailer are a lot more refined, a lot. I would say a step up in terms of just their detail and line work. There's additional lighting going on these ships as well. They just look better. Now that is a subjective comment. Obviously, you may look at the old versions and say, "Oh, those look better." When I say these look better, I mean from like an integrated art standpoint, right? It doesn't look like things are just slapped on. It does look like things were purpose built. So it looks like these engines and the cladding around them was sort of built for this support structure. That's probably why they removed that big intake, right? Because it was unneeded. So from that respect, to me, the design has matured a bit, right? Question here from Chabberwocky on Twitch. Other than losing the railgun and likely some armor, do you think there are any other differences between the Idris M and the Idris P with the K upgrade? I'm pretty sure there is a missile room difference between the two. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, chat. I do believe there's a missile room difference. There are some turret changes between the two ships. I think the K kit, you get some different weapon selections for the turret hardpoints. And then obviously the difference between the mass driver and the big laser gun. Hold on one second, everybody. Okay, cool. So there's that difference. I think there'll be a livery difference, and there could be some internal room changes, not in terms of rooms that are located, but in terms of what rooms are certain rooms are used for. Liam says Idris K does have a size 10 laser beam. Yes, the Idris K does have a size 10 laser weapon in that front section. Everyone, again, thank you so much for the support. We're about to go into Javelin real quick, but I did want to shout out everybody. Got 71 on Twitch, which is absolutely amazing. Please follow the channel if you haven't followed already. It puts you in a good position for my giveaways during IAE. And we've got 188 on YouTube, which is absolutely amazing. Getting some good YouTube traction as well. So thank you so much, everyone. If you're over on YouTube, though, please also head over to the Twitch. Give the Twitch channel a follow. Give the Twitter a follow, give the Discord a connect, all that kind of good stuff. Subscribe. Obviously you're probably already on YouTube, so you've already subscribed there. And those of you on Twitter, if you're on Twitch, head over to the YouTube and give the YouTube channel a follow as well. Again, some of our content comes exclusively to one platform versus the other. It just depends, right? So, for example, a lot of the pre-recorded stuff goes straight to YouTube. And then a lot of things like charity stuff and whatnot is primarily on Twitch, right? Because it's very real time. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background. So give all the channels some love. Make sure you follow that Twitter or X account too, because again, all the updates for Starjump I push through there to make sure they are communicated. Okay, so again, really appreciate that. Cinnamon, I can't say your name, Cinnamon. I'm going to call you that. Thank you for that follow. I appreciate it. Rain15, thank you for that follow. Really appreciate you. Love that support. Let's keep moving forward, everyone. We're going to talk about the Javelin destroyer now, okay? So let's go ahead and move forward in this squadron video. So right away, let's talk about the Idris, okay? We'll zoom down, or sorry, the Javelin, getting the two mixed up. Now, the Javelin didn't receive as big of changes in its engine layout as the Idris, but there are some notable changes. Okay, so we're going to switch back real quick to to 3D, Cinema 4D. We're going to remind ourselves, give ourselves a little bit of a reminder on the Javelin. The Javelin previously used these horizontal engines here. I can disconnect this one. You can kind of see it. That's what the engine looks like. And there were two up front, which I always didn't love. I always thought they looked very taped on. And then, of course, on the rear, let me re-grab the ship. And then on the rear, spin around to the rear. There were there are four main thrusters, and then there were the four engines, just like the ones in the front, kind of stuck on here. Now I'm going to go into this piece here. Bear with me. I'm going to turn off some engines real quick. So if I turn off the engines, you can see this support wing right here. Some of you may have seen the Javelin in the PU without those engines attached and just these weird support wings. I've heard people even say, oh, did the Javelin change? No, the Javelin didn't change. It's just its engines didn't spawn in properly, or it was maybe bugged or whatever. But it's supposed to hold engines, okay? Just so you know. So there's the engines on. Again, there are four here on the rear, so that's 8 total of those horizontal engines on the rear, and then the 4 main thrusters. So going back over to our left monitor here, you can see that has significantly changed. Now up front, we don't have those horizontal engines. We have these. These are actually unique. Remember our Idris, and remember how they were slightly V-shaped? These are slightly V-shaped as well, but not the same engines. These are different. These are not just reused Idris engines, okay? These have unique work to them, okay? It's got 2 of them over here. Again, that chevron shape kind of hugs the side of the Idris. So again, I feel like it looks a lot more integrated, which ultimately I think makes the Javelin look a little bit more purpose-built instead of just a big capital ship that Aegis threw some engines on. Same thing back here in the rear. The engines essentially it's the same layout. You have your 4 main thrusters, which look like haven't changed that much other than some greeble work on the exterior, but mostly the same. And then the engines on the side now, instead of 4 here, horizontal engine layout, it looks like these integrated chevron casings again with 2 internal engines in each casing. So it's still 4 and 4, but just different design. There's some other differences here too. I'm going to go back to Hangar Link real quick. We're doing some serious ship investigation here, so I hope you all like screen switching. Important thing to note, there's a couple important things to note about the current Javelin. One easy one to look at is like the front nacelles here, right? If you look, the front nacelles have these like little inset designs. I don't know what those are, but it almost creates this like kind of interesting cutout look to the front of the ship where you have these little insets and these shapes, and they kind of create a little bit of a shape language, right? Okay. If I go back to the current one, it doesn't have those at all. They've completely removed it, right? Exactly, Mellow Fellow. The engine's now more conform to the shape of the hull, which is a much cleaner look, just as Mellow Fellow says here, much cleaner look, much more integrated look. So again, the engines feel more purposefully built for the ship, right? So again, totally changed there. A lot of other changes here. Again, I'm going to be switching back and forth. Bear with me. If I go up here around the turret section, originally there was these inset areas here with the maneuvering thrusters and these big number 1, 2, 3 on it. I actually did kind of like those elements. It looks like those have significantly changed now. So if you look up here, the maneuvering thrusters aren't there anymore, so those have probably been relocated, or they're inset. They could be inset now because I am seeing some glows right here, so maybe those are the maneuvering thrusters firing off. Maybe they're more inset, but the numbers seem to have disappeared. Okay, this is a little bit more sleeker right here. This is one of those areas where I'm like, you know what? I almost preferred the original look here. Another cool place to look is up here on the spine. We have a docking collar up here, and then a spinal section with all these like triangular hatches, right? I forget what those are, escape pods or something, I believe. But it's a pretty prominent spinal structure. And again, note that docking collar. Go back to the image, all that's changed. So we don't have our triangular structures anymore, and the docking collar is gone. That's not shocking. I think we're going to see the end of vertically placed docking collars. Okay, we're still getting our port and starboard side ones, but the vertical docking collars, I think CIG's done with those. They're not going to go that route anymore because that creates a kind of a weird ship-to-ship docking scenario for them. Again, we still have our main guns there, so the guns themselves haven't changed. And why haven't those changed? Because that's where inside of the ship there is a turret seat and a turret passageway and all that stuff, which they can't change the internals of the ship. Remember that. So things like the turrets have not changed. We still have our primary torpedo tubes up here, but they now look like they have armored covers on them. If I go back to Fleet Viewer, you can see back here originally you have just the holes there that the torpedoes come out of, and some of the structure. There's some antenna work that comes forward, but then go back to the image here. It looks like they've changed up the antennas to be a little bit more interesting now. The torpedoes have covers on them a la the Polaris. And again, additional structures all the way back. The entire Javelin exterior has been changed. Almost every piece of line work, every element has been changed. Another important place to note is these little fins here, these little winglets. Going back to the current model, let's see. Oh, the Extreme Beard rated with a party of 61 viewers sending the Kraken overhead with the massive raid. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, Extreme Beard. Hopefully you had a great stream. I really appreciate you sending your community over here. So thank you so much. Yo, dude, got to pass on the love. Thank you so much, Extreme Beard. I will definitely send that back to you as soon as I can. I love to repay raids with raids, so thank you for doing that. Did you have a good stream? Talk about anything interesting? Get into some gameplay? Hopefully you had a good stream today. But seriously, thank you for that raid. Everyone from Extreme Beard's community, if you're coming over here, I am Starjump Grim. I am one part of Starjump. For those of you who don't know us, we make all types of content, do all types of stuff, everything from discussion. Extreme Beard says, all good. Found a carrot with loads of eggs on it. Spent 4. That's awesome. Very cool. I love emergent gameplay. But we here at Starjump, we do all kinds of stuff. We do cinematics. We do pre-recorded discussion topic shows. We do charity work through Starjump Guardian stuff. We do, what else do we do? We do all kinds of shows like Fleet Builders, stuff like that. We also are well known for the creation of Starjump Fleet Viewer, which is what you're seeing here. So Starjump Fleet Viewer. Starjump is made up of myself, Starjump Grim, as well as Starjump Ender. Starjump Starlet, or you can just say Starlet, and VMXEO. I think VMXEO and Ender are both in chat, so you can give them a giant salute. Thank you for all the follows. Really appreciate that. And again, of course, thank you for that raid. But again, to Extreme Beard's community, if you want to hang out here, we are talking differences between the Idris and Javelin from what they were back in the day, or what we've known them to be all up to now, and then all the way to the Squadron 42 gameplay reveal at this year's CitizenCon, where it was revealed that there are massive changes to the Idris and Javelin. Baz Dude says, oh, cool, that's your site. Yes, Starjump Fleet Viewer and Hangar.link are our site. Obviously, I played a big role in the Starjump Fleet Viewer side of things. Starlet, who I'm not sure if is in chat or not, developed Hangar.link, and VMXEO has, of course, done a lot of model work for Fleet Viewer as well. Starjump Ender, who's also in chat, has also held down keeping the PR stuff alive on Fleet Viewer, helping us get the word out there. So, yes. Deco the Gecko says, question, do we think the Idris still won't release till Squadron 42? That's what I'm going with, because that's what they've said. Could that change? It's very possible. It's very possible. And I may go into that a little bit more in a minute, Deco. 10 says, Fleet Viewer is amazing. Facilitated a lot of discussion in my crew. That's great, 10. That's what the goal of it is. So I'm glad to know that it's generating conversation. That's awesome. Shenanigans, hope you're well. Thank you, Baz Dude. All right, so we're going to continue on. Again, Extreme Beard, thank you for that raid. You are amazing. I'm going to give you the double salute for that raid. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I will get you back for sure. So going back to the Javelin again, these winglets, they're very they're very straight shapes. They have no divots or no bends to them. Same with the back here. If I go to the frontal view, so if I go here, You can see here that the winglets have very straight edges on them, okay, front and rear. Oops. Let me zoom in. Very straight edges, okay, almost very simplified shapes, right? So let's go back to the Squadron gameplay trailer. You'll see here that now the winglets have little bends in them, right? You see the back of the winglet right here? It actually goes down, then divots in, cuts in. They have all new greebling on the exterior. So again, tons of changes in the Javelin. I would say 98% of the exterior of the Javelin has changed. Okay, again, important to remember that, and what we've all been saying for those of you just joining us, is that just because the exterior of the ship changes, the interior of the ship will probably almost definitely remain the same, right? Because they can't change that because it'll screw up all the stuff they've done for Squadron 42. Okay, so that's what you're seeing here, is you're seeing changes to the exterior. Let's keep going. Same image. Okay, here's a close-up. Okay, so again, going back, very easy to see. Some of the stuff I know we're kind of we kind of keep saying, or I'm repeating here, but just to drive the point home. Again, previously up near the main turrets of the Javelin, and this is the turret, by the way, that you're actually using in that prologue of the Squadron 42 gameplay session. You can see these big maneuvering thrusters, which I thought were pretty cool, and then these little areas here that said 01, 02, 03, and then on the other side 4, 5, 6. So you see those here. That's all now completely changed. Again, going back to the new version, you can see they've removed those big thrusters, and now it's all smooth here. We don't have the numbers. Here's our top spinal section. The docking collar's been removed, all that good stuff. Here's what you do see, okay? So some of you were asking, are these changes going to come to the PU? Yes. Why do I think that? Here's another reason why I think that. Because the ships we're seeing here in Squadron have things that we know they're bringing to the PU and that they're trying to bring to the to the PU. What's one of those examples? Well, let's look. What is this thing on top here? Remember how this was a docking collar? What is this now? That's a point defense turret. Going back, here's 2 more point defense turrets, okay? So you start to see what they're doing here. So on this spinal area now, they've replaced it with 3 point defense turrets, something that was not on the other Javelin. Okay, it's not on the current Javelin that we see during Xenothreat and stuff like that. So this Javelin is a lot more in line with the trends that we're seeing in the PU, okay? Because we've seen these same point defense turrets brought to the RSI Polaris that's on the PTU now. Which, by the way, for those of you wondering, yes, Citizen Joel, thank you very much. Appreciate that. For those that don't know, the point defense turrets are pretty damn effective, by the way. Just going to point that out. I saw a video the other day of 2 Polarises battling each other, and one of them fired 4 size 10 torps, and the other one, I think it's point defense turrets, shot down 3 of them or shot down all 4. So they can be very effective. But yes, and this is just on the top side. We're seeing, we're seeing those point defense turrets do their things. Let's go back to Fleet Viewer again. Again, sorry, we're going to do a lot of crossing here. Thank you for that follow, Agent. Appreciate it. Let's go back to Fleet Viewer. Another thing, I want you to look at the main gun. See this main gun up here? And I can actually go into 3D here. Thank you so much for that follow, Ryukin. If I can talk here, really appreciate that support. If you look at the turrets, this is what they look like. Big quad size 9s, I guess is what I've been told that they are. Okay, and it has one on top and it has one on bottom. Okay. They're on rails so that they can slide back and be protected by the rear of the ship, or at least they were supposed to be originally. I think CIG may move away from this because I think the capital shields alone will protect those guns. I don't think they need to move back there. But anyways, those are the original turrets. Let's go back over to the Squadron. As you can see, this turret looks quite different. Tenpathy, thank you for that follow. Appreciate you so much. Salute to you all for the follows and the support. Thank you very, very much. So you'll notice here this turret looks quite different. It's now a dual. It's not a quad anymore, but they also look bigger. This looks like it could be, if the previous ones are size 9, this almost looks like it could be a size 10 turret. Okay, Crimson Hawkmoth, thank you for that follow. Very much appreciated. So again, what are we talking about here? We're talking big changes. Oops, sorry. I realized I didn't move back over to left monitor. Sorry. You saw the turret. Here's the new one. Let me go back. Here's on the Squadron 42 gameplay. This is the new turret. It's a dual, not a quad anymore. It also looks to be much bigger and much more substantial, like a heavier gun. I think those are some, sorry, thank you, Liam. Thanks for that. So I think the gun on the top of the Idris and the bottom of the Idris, I think they've been switched out to duals because they are a heavier gun. Jock Cop, yeah, it'll switch over in just a second. If you're hearing this, although you're probably on a delay. So I think this is a size 10 weapon. Okay. Dual size 10. I could be wrong, but if those were quad size 9s, these are probably dual size 10s. Okay. So again, significant changes to the exterior of the Javelin. Everything from the top spine with all the point defense turrets that you see here, multiple point defense turrets. I think there's another one right there. So that's 4 that I see easily just on the spine. Changes to this section here with the maneuvering thrusters being totally removed, the numbers being totally removed. All the engines obviously have been switched out to the more new integrated stuff. Yeah, Fantastic. Did I say that right? Yeah, I'm thinking that's a dual size 10 turret up here is what I'm thinking. And I think they're bespoke. I think this is unique to the Javelin. Much like the dual size 6 on the chin of the Polaris is bespoke, it's unique to the Polaris. CIG has also said that bespoke weapons are almost always more powerful than regular weapons of the same size. So a bespoke size 6 is going to be more powerful than a interchangeable size 6 weapon. Okay, let's continue on. Here's another image of the Javelin again. Now, one thing you will notice is its rear engines, the 4 main engines, look mostly intact. Those don't look like they've changed much. There's some greebling changes on the exterior, but mostly have stayed intact. It's just these bolted on engines on the exterior have now been changed to the more chevron shaped. Again, it looks like there's 2 engines in each one of these cladding structures. So again, it just, now that they're hugging the actual hull of the ship, again, it just looks more integrated, looks stronger, looks more a little bit more purposeful, right? So if you're Javelin or Idris owner, I think you got a lot to look forward to because again, it does look like they've upgraded these ships in a pretty big way to compete with like new design standards at CIG, with the Polaris being a great example of the new design, the new high bar of the design kind of standards that they are aiming for. Another example, or just another image of the Javelin rear. Again, most of this stays the same. I do still see the rails here on top and bottom, so it's very possible that the gun still runs along the rails. Underside, not much difference here. The only thing from the underside is you can confirm that that other big turret is here. So it looks like they have kept that whole thing where the Idris has a big top turret, big bottom turret. Crimson Hawk Moss's question: CIG said that the Javelins were sold to players were stripped and bare versions. Do you think that has changed, or do you think we'll still have to work on getting these bespoke turrets and weapons back on the hull? I think they're going to change that, Crimson. I think we're going to get the Idris with, or sorry, I think we're going to get the Javelin with a subset of weapons on them. Now, maybe those can be upgraded, but I think it's going to come with weapons, especially if they're bespoke. Especially if there's bespoke. I think they're going to change their tune on that. I think that was back when they really didn't know the point of Star Citizen, and they were like, oh, what can we give people to do that's like a goal they can work for? Oh, okay, you can work to outfit your ship. Now that we have Star Citizen 1.0 outlined, and it's clear that base building and manufacturing and all that is going to be a big part of what you're doing, do they really need these little, like, oh, you need to put guns on your ship? I think they can kind of forego that, just give you the weapons. You still have a lot you could probably upgrade with the ship, component wise and stuff like that. But I think they're just going to go ahead and outfit the Javelins now. Again, this bottom image here just allows you to see those turrets. It also looks like right here, now I could be wrong, but it looks like they've put 3 turrets on the bottom of here in the middle spine. Okay, if I go back to the model, I'm pretty sure those are not there, the current model. Yeah, so the current model, oh, nope, I'm wrong. The current model does have those 3 guns there. I never noticed that. There they are. Always proven. I like to be proven wrong. There we go. Jans, thank you for that follow. Appreciate it. So again, those turrets are there, but going back to there, it looks like they've kept those. We still have our big gun down here. Obviously, our torpedo tubes, they have changed those a little bit, made them covered now, which is interesting. That's much more in line now with the Polaris. Another thing they've done is added additional lighting up here. As someone who's just very familiar with the lighting on the Javelin, they've put some of this what I call just hull lighting, these little lights that point alongside the edges of the hull to give it some dimensionality and some help define the structure of the ship. That wasn't on the previous Javelin, so I think that's really cool. You do see that on the Polaris. Take a Polaris to the dark side of a planet or something and look at how much exterior hull lighting they have on the ship. It's more than any other ship currently in the PU by a big margin. Question, does the new Javelin model have VTOL? Granted, it doesn't have a landing gear, but CIG has shown that the Javelin multiple times going into Atmo, with Castra being the latest concept art of it. So yeah, no landing gear, no sight of a landing gear. I don't think we're getting a landing gear. But in terms of VTOLs, there's hints of that. The ship was going to have VTOLs anyway, but you can see right here, this is a large VTOL structure. There's another one here on the other side right here. So they are there. I don't know how powerful it's going to be. I do think the Javelin will be able to go in atmosphere, though. I just don't think it'll be able to land. And if you go on a planet with a high gravity, high range of gravity, it could be dangerous to fly this ship in atmosphere. And it's very possible Castra has less gravity than, say, Hurston, right? Moving further along, just another exterior image here. You can more clearly see those three turrets. You can also more clearly see this gun down here, the dual size gun on the bottom. Again, we've never seen a cannon like this. If you look very careful, the barrels are actually more of a rectangle shape. We haven't seen anything like that. That's why I think it's a bespoke weapon. Dan Hoffman says it can land once. I agree with that. It can land one time. All right. You can see that the Javelin does have 2 big turrets here. I am pretty sure that these turrets have been upgraded in size. I think they're now equivalent to the 3 broadsides that are on top, left and right. So I think these turrets have been expanded a bit in their size. They also look bespoke and unique to the Javelin. Again, additional cladding details here. All this has changed from the current Javelin we have. However, some stuff is still very much similar. So one of the things that the Javelin has that you'll see in that Squadron 42 gameplay trailer, and I will, I'm going to move back to that real quick, is, and may have to fast forward a bit. Yeah, right here. Watch, is that the camera does do kind of a push in and turn to this window that's on the side of the Javelin. And that's where you're first introduced to your character. And I think that's where you go through character creation and all that stuff, right? That window is still very much intact. You can see it here. If you go back and watch the 2023 sitcom presentation where they showed the I Held the Line video, they do this same camera move, but the ship has changed. It's the old it's the old Javelin model in the 2023 video. So from 2023 to 2024, they straight up changed the Javelin in terms of its exterior visuals. But this window element is still here from the original one, but it has changed shape quite a bit, okay? And I'll actually pull up just to show you something real quick that you might find interesting. I'm going to bring up the I Held the Line video. Hit play on this. We'll go to that point in the video. Here we go. Okay, it's moving up. I'm going to pause it here. Here's that window that the camera moves into, because here's our player character. And here are, you can notice the structure. See how smooth the ship is and how almost lacking detail it has? A lot of smooth edges and stuff. Now let's go back to the current one. Oops, let's back up just a tad. Let's back up just a tad. We'll try to stop at roughly the same area. Okay, So again, from here to here, you can see how much of a difference this is. Okay, still the same ship. It's a UES Gauntlet, which I don't think it says here, but it's still the same ship. We still have the ejection ports up here. We still have our window with our character sitting in it, but all this other stuff is gone and changed. It's still all there. It's just changed. Got a lot more detail now, right? See, push up to our player character. Same thing here. Push up to our player character. So again, a lot more detail there. A lot more detail. Let's keep going. Okay. So that being said, where am I going with all this? Well, essentially, if you are an owner of a Javelin or an Idris and you're very excited for those ships, it's very clear that CIG has done some big detail passes to those ships to bring them up in line with the RSI Polaris and just any new big capital ship they're doing. I think ships like the Ironclad, the Pioneer, which we all know are going into production sometime in the next 12 months, the Perseus, all that are going to be a step above what we've seen in the past from CIG in terms of detail. And that, of course, means they had to go back and upgrade their hero ships, which are the Idris and Javelin, the ships that are in Squadron 42. But any final questions about those two? Any final questions? Let me know. Let me know. All right. Real quick here, we're going to send you over to. I had a great time talking with you all, by the way. Hopefully you found that interesting. Again, it's more about just highlighting changes with ships to kind of give you a better understanding of what when you're buying what you're getting. And I've heard a lot of people look at the exterior of the Idris Javelin and from this Squadron 42 gameplay and say, are they the same ship? Have they changed? Blah, blah, blah. I fully expect these are the versions we're getting. I think John Crew and Ben Curtis will almost undoubtedly at an IAE next year, or maybe IAE this year, or at some ISC in between, or maybe it's Invictus. They're going to go through these two ships, show us all the changes. Maybe it'll be Nathan Dearsley. I don't know, whoever was overseeing it. They're going to show us all these changes, and I think it's going to be for the better. I think these ships are going to be incredible. So if you're an owner of them, get excited. Again, everyone, don't forget IAE is fast approaching. I will be doing giveaways through IAE, all that kind of good stuff. So stay tuned for those. IAE begins on the 22nd. I'll probably almost definitely be doing a stream on the 21st, kind of a pre-IAE stream, and we'll give away 2 Starjump IAE 2954 posters, so make sure you do that. Go follow all of our channels, our Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, YouTube, or go join our Discord if you like conversations with us. Follow my Twitter, or follow my Twitch, obviously. Follow Ender's Twitch. Follow the YouTube channel, please. I'm trying to build up the YouTube subscriber list, okay? So go give that a follow. I really appreciate it. Everyone, I'm going to send you to a good friend of ours, Meyer. He's over playing some Star Citizen right now. You can go check him out. When you go over there, give Meyer some love. Give him some of that Starjump love. Thank you for all the follows today. Maple Wolfie, thank you for that follow. Appreciate it. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Have a good one. Any final words for me? No, I think that's mostly it. Everybody, go give Meyer some love. Thank you very much. Do something kind for strangers. Ender always says, have a good one. Have a good rest of your day.